It's about time we examined how the birth of our now 2-year-old daughter impacted our plans to retire early. Don't get me wrong, having a kid was without a doubt the best decision we ever made. My wife and I feel so incredibly grateful for her every single day. If you're in the right place with the right partner and you're thinking about having a baby, I would say don't put it off too long. You're unlikely to ever regret it, no matter the impact on your finances. That being said, as it turns out, kids can be quite expensive. Who would have guessed? Over the past 2 years, our expenses have literally exploded in comparison to what they were before, especially now that she's in daycare and we've started traveling more again. We'll go over all of our numbers afterwards so that you know what I'm talking about. The thing is, all of those increased costs significantly impact our early retirement equation. In case you're new to the concept, we're aiming for early retirement using the 4% rule as a rough guideline, which essentially means that we want our investment portfolio to be large enough so that we can safely withdraw 4% from it each year, adjusted for inflation, to cover our living expenses. So as our yearly expenses increase, the amount we need to achieve financial independence also increases. 6 months ago, I shared an update on how close we were to our goal, and honestly, things were looking way better than I could ever have anticipated. However, things have changed. Even though our investment portfolio has grown by more than 92,000 euros since then, helped in large part by above average returns in our ETFs, as well as our small speculative allocation to crypto literally going parabolic this year, we're now further, instead of closer, to mathematically being able to retire early. How is that possible, you ask? Well, that's because our retirement target has gone up more in relation to our investment portfolio, primarily due to our increased costs of living as a family of 3 living in Austria. Before we take a closer look at what caused the major increase and where we currently are on our FI journey, don't forget to gently tap the like button if you enjoy videos like this and to subscribe if you haven't yet. Also, if you'd like to support me, feel free to use my links in the description below to the best low-cost brokers in Europe to buy ETFs. Okay, it's time to see how our expenses changed from February 2023 until now, November 2024. February 2023 was the last time I published a video going over our expenses in detail. And yes, I'll be the first to admit we were spending very little at the time. However, you need to understand that our daughter had only been born a few months before, which meant that we were staying at home a lot and only rarely visited restaurants or cafes. Not only that, she was exclusively living off breast milk at the time, which my wife kindly managed to produce for her in-house. With that context, let's finally see how low our expenses were on average in February of last year. We were only spending a total of 1,369 euros per month as a family of 3 back then. Had our expenses remained that low, obviously a very unrealistic scenario, we would have been able to retire already if we wanted to. But now let's see where things stand less than 2 years later in November 2024, after a period of high inflation across Europe. Our housing costs have increased 15% as expected due to inflation, but luckily they're still very low, which we're very grateful for. We're still happy with public transportation in Vienna, so transportation has remained the same. Our gym membership costs have gone up 117% since my wife joined a gym again. We still pay the same for our phone contracts. And our subscriptions to online services like Netflix have increased 240%. Which brings us to the largest increases in our spending. Our combined cost for groceries, dining out, travel, clothes and extras has exploded from an average of 568 to 1,158 euros per month, a 104% increase. By the way, sorry for grouping these expenses together like this, but at this point in our FI journey, we don't really feel like categorizing each expense into its own category is a good use of our time anymore. What I can say is that this number has largely gone up due to more traveling, more restaurants, cafes and ice creams, as well as us spending more money on whatever our daughter needs as she's growing up quickly. We also added what we would call luxury expenses this year. We now have a cleaning lady that helps us out for a few hours every 2 weeks. Earlier this year, my wife and I each had 2 paid sessions with a personal trainer to further improve our training in the gym. And my wife is now taking online Italian lessons once a week, something she really enjoys and looks forward to. Getting back to where our costs increased due to our daughter, we're now paying 227 euros per month for daycare and 18 euros per month for a private health insurance, since for that low of an amount, it's definitely worth being able to avoid an overcrowded children's clinic whenever she gets sick. Which means that in total we're now spending an average of 2,495 euros per month, a staggering 82% more compared to February 2023. Now, we're still getting an average of 367 euros per month in child subsidy and family bonus here in Austria, which lowers our monthly out-of-pocket spending to 2,128 euros. That is also the number we're using for our calculations. Still, let's see how this impacted our early retirement trajectory. As I mentioned in the intro, last time I shared our numbers using the early retirement calculator Net30fi was in April of this year, where our expenses had already increased compared to the 2023 numbers to around 1,700 euros per month. With a savings rate of 72% and a portfolio value of 433,000 euros, we were only 1.2 years from being able to retire early. Now, 7 years later, after benefiting from above average returns in our ETF portfolio, as well as our smaller speculative allocation to crypto, the majority of which is made up of Bitcoin right now, you would think that we must be a lot closer to our goal, but that's not actually the case. While we were able to increase our family income, the total amount of our yearly savings, as well as grow our portfolio value by 92,150 euros, our savings rate actually dropped due to our higher yearly expenses. That in turn means that instead of being 7 months closer to early retirement, our date actually moved slightly further away to 1.3 years. Now, that's still amazing, and I want to be clear that we are no way upset or disappointed about it. It simply shows how much the amount you need to retire goes up if your cost of living rises. Based on our current yearly expense of 25,524 euros, we now need a total of 638,100 euros to retire based on the 4% rule. And we're about 82% of the way there according to where our investment portfolio stands at the moment. The thing is, as our portfolio grew in size this year, we changed our perspective a bit on our early retirement goal. Considering our current position and the savings rate that's still hovering around 70% due to our relatively high income as a married couple, it's not really a matter of if we're going to mathematically reach financial independence, but when. There is no reason for us to rush towards this goal, as we're already trying to center our life more and more around work we find fulfilling. For me, this includes this YouTube channel and interacting with the amazing community of European investors we were able to bring together here. My wife and I are in the lucky position not to be running from jobs we hate or that drain us emotionally. So we don't need to do whatever we can to grow our nest egg as quickly as possible just to be able to let go of them. The reality is our life likely won't change too much once we reach our magical number. If that's in a year, 2 years or more doesn't make much of a difference in the end. That's because even once our portfolio reaches a size where we don't need to work for money anymore, we still want to do something useful and fulfilling with our time. None of the people I know that were able to retire early in their 30s or 40s are simply lying on the beach somewhere doing nothing. Every single one of them is currently working on something they enjoy, often their own project, whether they're getting paid for it or not. Which finally brings me to the question, did having a kid ruin our early retirement dreams? The answer is a clear, resounding no. Look, obviously having a kid increased our expenses quite a bit, but as our investments grow in size, we're deliberately choosing to spend more money on things that make our life easier and more enjoyable as parents. We could easily cut back on some of these if we wanted, but we don't really see the need to do that. It's not like we have to reach some magical number as quickly as possible and then that's suddenly going to change our lives forever. Our daughter is by far the best thing that ever happened to the two of us, and we couldn't be more grateful for her and what we get to experience as parents. She's definitely worth every single penny of extra costs, no question about it. I also have to say we've really enjoyed spending more money this year. We're still not wasting it, by the way, but we're happy to spend more money on things that either improve our life or the lives of the people that are close to us in some way. Whether that's spending more on comfort, hobbies we want to pursue, something our daughter would enjoy, or the simple act of inviting our friends and family for meals, ice cream, coffee, or other stuff while we're out, especially when they don't expect us to pay for them. It just feels so great to know that we easily have the money to do that now and that it won't make a difference in where we're headed long term. The thing is, over the past 7 to 8 years on our financial independence journey, we've become really good at saving and investing as much money as possible, which got us so much closer to our financial goal than we could have ever hoped for at this point. To put things into context, I'm 34 years old right now, while my wife is only 31. But now that we're almost there, it's really nice to explore the other side of the equation as well. How can we put all of this extra money to good use? One simple mind shift that helped us a lot was simply calculating how much money we could spend every single day if we were already withdrawing from our investments using the 4% rule. You can try this yourself with your own numbers. For us, right now that number is 57 euros. This means we can easily spend 57 euros in any given day on extras, so meals at restaurants, activities, stuff for our daughter, whatever, without needing to think about it twice. After all, we're still working and generating income, which more than covers our monthly expenses right now anyway. Not only that, we plan to keep working on things we enjoy once we reach our early retirement number, which means we'll likely still be generating extra income. So there's no point in playing the number go up game forever, simply trying to accumulate as much wealth as possible into our old age. As long as we're well on our way to having enough to pay for a fulfilling life indefinitely, I believe it's a much better idea to start putting some of that extra money to good use already today. But now I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about what I shared today, and how much are you spending on a monthly basis right now? I would love to know in the comments below. Before you take off, don't forget to gently tap the like button if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe if you haven't yet. We're getting so close to 50,000 subscribers. You can find the best local brokers for ETFs in the description below, which is a great way to support me if you'd like to. Thank you guys so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and until next time.